Hello, friends. Welcome to the Career Guru podcast. I am your host, Steve Yanovsky. What a glorious day it is to start your path in a new career. Doors are opening here at the Boston Career Institute even as we speak. And I'm here holding the key for you. So tune in, stay sharp, and enjoy yourself. This is going to be great. Hashtag Let's Career Up. Hello, my dear friends, and welcome to the 7th installment of the Career Guru podcast. What a glorious day it is today for us to be talking about our careers. I am your all-knowing, all-sensing, all-feeling, all-understanding Career Guru coming to you, almost live through the magic of internet. Today, my friends, I want to talk to you about some of the questions, one question in particular, rather, to be asked of you during your interview process. You know, there are several questions out there that you are being asked when you are interviewing for a new job. You know, they start around the corner, like, tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me what others will say about you. What can you tell me about others that you worked with? And then they slip in a few questions like, hey, can you tell me about a problem that you may have had with your coworkers or some of the clients that you have interacted with? Tell us about some of these problems that you may have had and how you resolved them. Now, this would be the topic of discussion today. I'll be talking about this question, and indirectly I'll be talking about conflict resolution, which is kind of a sore subject for a lot of people. People don't really know how to handle conflict in the workplace. And what exactly is conflict? So let's talk about conflict, and then we'll talk about this question that I just posited for you. Tell me a little bit about the problem that you may have had with your employer, with your coworkers, with your clients, and how you resolved it. We're going to come back to this question as we move along. But right now, I want to talk to you about conflict. What exactly is conflict? Well, let's examine the word conflict. Let's define it. It's made up of several word parts, and it's important. I don't want to come across patronizing. I just want to, make sure that we understand words. Words have meanings. Those meanings have lots and lots of power. Once we understand these meanings, we truly understand how to deal with a situation. So the word conflict is made up of two word parts. Prefix con, which means with or together, and flict, conflict. The word flict means to strike. So meaning two people hitting one another. That is the actual meaning of the word conflict. Two people striking each other. Sometimes you can have a conflict within yourself. But that's a topic for a different discussion. Now, there are different types of conflict, but we can break down conflicts into the general two types of conflict: destructive conflict and constructive conflict. Regretfully, most of us enjoy in destructive type of conflict, which is unfortunate. What is a destructive conflict? It's your general disagreement that leads to a bad or negative outcome. It never leads to anything good. It leads to frustration, antagonism. Antagonism literally means being opposite of one another, like two boxers in separate corners. That's true definition of antagonism. And this battle continues. Round 1, round 2, round 3. It never ends. It's destructive conflict. And then there is constructive conflict. Constructive conflict is something that may start as a disagreement between multiple people, two people in particular. Let's keep it simple. But once it's resolved, it leads to a positive outcome. Now, this is a type of conflict that we should strive for. In the workplace, in personal relationships, whenever and whatever, a conflict must be constructive. This must be your mission. When I talk about interviewing, I mention a few things. That interview process relies on several P's. P, 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 P. What is P? P is for positive. The other P is for professional. And this applies to conflict resolution. Being positive, being professional, and not taking it personally is key. And I'll address this as we go along. So I just want to make sure that why are we talking about conflict resolution? Well, so we can get the job, keep the job, thrive in the job. Career Guru wants you to have all these amazing benefits. Today, we need to make money more than ever, with the price of gasoline, with the prices of utilities skyrocketing. They just announced today that in November, they're raising the utility rates by 64% in Massachusetts. Folks, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. If you're spending $100 last year a month on the utility bill, that means you're going to be spending $164 a month this year. While we can't really fix that, we can fix how much money we bring home. And that's why the Career Guru is coming to you to talk to you about how you can get a better job and make more money. This is why we're here. This is what we all want. This is what we want for you in BCI. So if you're stuck in a dead-end job and you want to come and learn about a great career in healthcare, come to see us here at Boston Career Institute so we can get you into a hospital or a dental practice or a clinic, wherever that may be. It's a great opportunity for you to get a new career to make more money. But let's talk about conflict and conflict resolution. When we talk about conflict resolution in particular, we have to first identify the source of the conflict. Where is the conflict coming from? Who is the conflict coming from? Is this your coworker? Is this your manager? Is this a client? Whatever the case may be, you have to identify the actual source of the problem. Who is the argument with? You may be arguing with one person, but the argument with someone else. So first, you truly need to identify where the problem is coming from, who the problem is coming from, the source of the problem. Once you identify that particular piece, the next piece follows. And that's time and place. What do I mean by that? The time and place for having a conflict with someone is also very important. Back in the day, when armies used to fight one another, they used to pick a place where a battle would take place. Nothing has changed since those ancient times. You need to have the sun in your back. You need to have the height advantage. You need to be on a hill somewhere. Okay? So the same thing here. Don't have an argument just any place. You have to have an argument in a place that's neutral. Neutral. And don't let it be an argument. Let it be a constructive conversation. Not a destructive conversation, but a constructive conversation. So first you identify the who, and then you identify the where. Where am I going to have this conversation? It says, hello, don't have it where other people are. You don't need to shake out your dirty laundry. At the end of the day, you could be the one who is incorrect in your assumptions, which led to this particular argument. So you don't really want to look bad in front of other people. So, or you don't also want to make another person look bad in front of other people as well. Be polite. Find a place that's good for both of you. Best place, best time, neutral ground, preferably with a cup of coffee in hand. Something of the sort that makes both people feel comfortable. The next point when you're trying to resolve a conflict is to take what we call an amicable or friendly approach. Do not take an adversarial approach. Do not treat the person as your enemy. Treat them as a friend. Once you do that, the other person, unless they're a sociopath, they're going to come back to you with the same approach. You treat them politely, and generally, they will treat you politely back. It's like smiling at someone. If you smile at someone, the automatic response from a normal person is a smile. You know why people blink or why people yawn when other people are yawning? See, this is how you can spot a sociopath a lot of time. I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist, but I've been around people for a while. You know, you can tell a lot by people if they don't blink with you or if they don't yawn together with you. Yawn is a sympathetic response. So when you're yawning and the other person is not, you know, there's something wrong over there. Something is rotten in Denmark, as they say. So, amicable approach. Positivity is key. Constructive conversation. This is where you need to be. Then we need to identify the behavior that led for you to being there. What was the problem in the first place? What happened? You can express yourself, or they can express themselves. You can ask the person, or don't be afraid to tell the person, I felt this way because you did that. Now, it's important to understand that we're all thinking people, and most of the time when we speak in a professional environment, we're talking about from a position of thought, not feeling, which is an important element, but we can't hide our feelings. And arguments and problems, conflicts arise not because of anything that's related to fact. It's all about feelings. It's all about feelings. See, we never mature from our sandbox where we played as little kids and somebody else took away our toy and we cried. See, these are feelings. Okay, and the same thing happens. We just have different toys and a different sandbox that we call the job. All right, so, but with kids, they get over their problems fairly quickly because they want to play. And if you give them back their toy or some other toy, they get back to business of playing. With adults, it's a little bit more complicated. We become more complicated as grown-ups. Why, for goodness sakes, I wish we were still kids. But it is what it is. So you identify an emotion. That led to this particular conflict. They identify theirs, you identify yours. Usually, a conflict has nothing to do with what people are talking about. You know, there's an old thing that I remember from the time that I was in college. They told us about conflict resolution many years ago. And one of the classic cases of conflict came from this big law firm in New York, where a huge conflict arose between many people, high-priced lawyers that collected hundreds of dollars an hour for their services, argued about having a vending machine in their lunchroom. Now, do you really think that those people that made hundreds of dollars an hour, and that's back in the day, they would be making more money now, even more hundreds of dollars an hour, they were arguing about a vending machine in their lunchroom? The arguments were about respect and recognition, had nothing to do with the vending machine in the lunchroom. At the end of the day, the vending machine came in and nobody cared. The problems about respect and recognition were resolved. And then the machine came in and nobody cared. I'm sure you can find the vending machine argument that you have had at work. It doesn't have to be a vending machine. It could be anything. Or a similar argument at home with your significant other. Argument may be about shoes being in the wrong place, or the lights being left on, or the toilet seat, the ever popular toilet seat. It's never about the toilet seat. It's never about the shoes. It's always about something else. It's about respect and recognition. And this is where the arguments stem all the time, and people get caught up in minutia and they can't really get over it. Well, you as high professionals, which I hope you will be, and I hope that you are, you will understand this for what it is. It is never about that little problem that people are talking about. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a conflict, now would it? It would be a comment and a statement, and it would be resolved right away. But if it's dragging you and other people into this conflict, this all-out war about something, you have to scratch your head for a moment and say, hey, is this really about that? What are we talking about? We're talking about somebody's feelings. Feelings are powerful. They are emotions. They're on the levels of hormones inside the body. You can't control that. It's like the wind. You can't control that. But you have to acknowledge it and you have to go with it if you want to resolve it. If you don't want to resolve it, I think we all have a problem. So once we understand the who, the where, the type of approach that we're going to take, that positive approach to resolution, okay, then we have to deal with the behavior issue. Meaning, what led us to this conflict? My behavior, your behavior, and the emotion that flows in there, then we truly understand what it is that we're up against and what we're going to do about it. And then at the end of it all, in order to resolve the conflict, once you have acknowledged all of these other points, once you found the source, once you have identified the location, once you took the high road, the positive approach to problem resolution, once you identify and acknowledge behavior and emotion, then you can have a needed outcome. What do I need to happen now? What can I do to make you feel better? What should I do about my behavior? What should you do about your behavior? Now, so we have identified the battlefield, so to speak, for the ground. But instead of killing each other, we're going to figure out a way how to work with one another. Let's talk about the different types of conflict resolution strategies that people have. All of these solutions revolve around two letters, letter A and letter C. The first type of resolution technique out there is called avoidance. Many people will avoid the conflict at all costs. One person avoids the conflict, the other person avoids the conflict. But is the issue of the conflict resolved? It's an interesting thing. Avoiding conflict is a lose-lose proposition. It almost never leads to resolution of any problem. Sticking your head on the ground like an ostrich, both parties that secretly despise one another for whatever reason is almost never good. Let me tell you when it does work, though. Sometimes I receive an angry text message or an email, and I choose not to respond to it because I know on the other end, at least I hope, on the other end, the person really regretted sending that message. Avoiding this particular situation on my end without stepping up with an equal and opposite force with another nasty email going back, that is a sometimes good technique. But it's not going to work in a vast majority of cases. Avoiding problems is not good. Okay, so avoidance or avoiding conflict resolution or avoiding facing the conflict is a strategy. Sometimes it works, but only under very unique conditions with both parties. One party regrets sending it, and the other party understands that they will regret a response. In this particular case, avoiding conflict is a good way of handling this. The other way of handling conflict is accommodating. This is when one person, it's a lose-win situation. One person loses and the other person wins. So if you choose to accommodate someone else for the betterment of the department, for the betterment of the relationship, but you have to be the bigger person and say, okay, you're right and I'm wrong, and for that I'm sorry. That's called accommodation. Sometimes that works. If you can deal with your situation, with your feelings, your emotions, by just apologizing, just to make the problem go away, hey, more power to you. Just remember, it's a lose-win situation. When you lose and someone else wins. They feel great, and the question is, do you feel good about what you did? Well, if it didn't harm you, then maybe you do. But at the end, you came out, I don't want to say the loser, but you came out maybe the bigger person, but was you who apologized. You acknowledged your wrongdoing just to make the problem go away. Does that work? Sometimes. Sometimes. Now, first avoidance, I said, was a lose-lose proposition because both parties didn't really agree on anything. They just avoided the conflict. But the main problem was there in the first place. The one that was there in the first place is still there. Lose-lose. Accommodation is lose-win, but wouldn't it be better to have a win-win situation? We always have to strive to have a win-win. Now, how do we do that? There are strategies for win-win, but let me address one more strategy that's kind of like lose-win, but in this particular case is going to be a win-lose. Conflict resolution, that's a win-lose. Now, I said that accommodation, when you choose to accommodate somebody else, you lose, they win. And if you're a bigger person, you will feel good about that, and it's not a negative outcome, it's a positive outcome. Remember, we're trying to resolve conflict. So we are looking for a victory on both sides where people are satisfied. But in this particular case, when we are accommodating somebody else, technically one person loses. You can recover that loss and say, well, I actually won because I was a bigger person. But still, you go in a loss column. We want to have wins on both sides. When both parties walk away satisfied, okay, it's like selling a car or buying a car. You want to buy a car, but you want to spend not more than $1,500. The other person wants to sell the car, but they won't sell for less than $2,000. Okay, so when do you win? You win when the person steps down a little bit and they feel good, and you come up a little bit and you feel okay because it's close enough. So win-win situation is good. We talked about avoiding and accommodating. These are my 2 A's. And then we have several C's. We have compromise, we have competition, and we have collaboration. Let's talk about the competitive approach to settling an argument. When you want to win. Now, it's a win-lose. I'm right, you're wrong. Hey, when you come in with that approach, you're coming in from a position of power. Most of the time, it's not going to work. It's not going to work in most of the cases. But there are times when I'm right and you're wrong does actually work. For example, let's say you're in an emergency situation. You're not going to have a discussion with somebody. You're going to bark an order and you expect it to be done. That's a win-lose. That's a win-lose. Okay? At the end of the day, this is the only time when you're in an emergency situation, you're trying to manage it, and you are in charge of the management of the situation. You will get a positive outcome if you will win. That is a win-lose situation, and that is something, the only time when this competitive win-lose approach actually works. I'm right, you're wrong. On a battlefield, yes, win-lose, always. The other possibilities for settling an argument, settling a conflict, would be compromise and collaboration. These are 2 separate entities. Compromise. Compromise is the art of finding middle ground. It's good. It works. It's healthy. It's that car situation that I told you about. Finding a win-win situation, a middle ground. It's kind of a win-lose on both sides. We are, when you giving up something, when one person giving up something and you are giving up something, that is that compromise. So it's win-lose on both sides. You win a little, you lose a little. Our goal is win-win. Now, the best possible approach that's a win-win situation is something that is called collaboration. Collaborating with another person to settle an argument or the root cause of that problem is the choice. It has been statistically proven, statistically proven, that 80% of conflicts can be resolved by collaboration. 80%, folks, by collaborating with other people. That way, it's never a win-lose, win-lose. It's win, win, win. You walk away whole. You resolve the problem through collaboration. You didn't have to compromise. You simply worked together to achieve this symbiosis, or the feeling of existing together in harmony. That, my dear friends, is the key to conflict resolution. Aggressiveness, negativity has no place in resolving conflict. This is what they want to hear from you during the interview process. Can you tell me, Steve, how you resolved a problem that you may have had with your coworker, with your manager, with a client, my answer would be as follows. I cannot tell you how I resolved the problem, or I cannot tell you the specifics of a problem that I may have had, because it's very important for them to know that you're not going to be shaking out other people's dirty laundry. So keep it to yourself. Remember, time, place, and conditions to talk about everything. You don't want to bring negativity into this. So we're not going to say anything negative about what we experienced with other employers, with supervisors, with coworkers. And remember, people in industries that you're going to be entering, they recycle themselves. They go from one place to another. And, the person that you may have had an argument with could be your supervisor or your coworker in the next place. So don't shake out the dirty laundry. You don't want to talk about this stuff. In a couple of years, you will move on to get a better job someplace else. And then somebody asks you about the place that you're working in right now. Hey, any problems over there? Say, hey, you know what? Yeah, of course there are problems, but I'm not going to talk about them. I'm not going to say anything bad about anything that happened to me with my employer, my supervisor. That's not my style. I can tell you that I handled all of my problems, all of my conflicts, politely, professionally, and in full compliance with company policies. And there's your answers, my friends. This is the answer. This is what they want to hear. Hey, are you positive? Are you professional? Are you polite? Do you read the policy manual? Why, yes, I do. And this is how I handled and resolved all my problems. Don't go out there conning people. Oh, I've never had problems. Oh, I'm like a saint, People are not interested in that. They want people who can collaborate and resolve problems by following policies. Well, my friends, I think I've talked enough about conflict resolution. We, of course, can go on and on and on to talk about this stuff, and it's a great topic. And I will wait for your feedback. I will wait for your comments about this, and we'll talk about this and other stuff. Now, my next podcast, I'm hoping, will be about how to find the money for your education. All right, so stay tuned for that one. That's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to this. So, my friends, this is it for today. I hope this was as good for you as it was for me. I hope you got some good pointers from this podcast on how to resolve conflict. Now go forth and collaborate. Collaborate, collaborate. And as always, hashtag Let's Career Up with the Career Guru and the Boston Career Institute. May God bless you. Have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you soon. Well, friends and aspiring career gurus, this was fun. Thank you for tuning in. I feel enlightened, I feel empowered, and I hope you do too. And I'm feeling grateful that we spent time together. For more information about Boston Career Institute, please visit our website at www.bostoncareer.org. Boston Career Institute has 3 campuses in Brookline, Malden, and Lowell, Massachusetts. You can call our toll-free number at 888-383-6058. For questions, comments, and or other information about our podcast, email bcipodcast@bostoncareer.org. The Career Guru Podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Podbay FM, and of course YouTube, or wherever you stream your podcasts. I'm looking forward to seeing you all soon. All the best to you. My name is Steve Yanovsky. I am the Career Guru. May God bless you. Hashtag Let's Career Up.